So the relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo is always very interesting to watch because it seems like they make a monumental leap and then things just get kind of quiet for a while. We've seen this time and time again, whether it's of course things like cross-platform play, first being available on Xbox and Nintendo Switch, or stuff like Ori and the Blind Forest coming to the Nintendo Switch, or even some of the stuff like GoldenEye 007 finally getting resurrected on both platforms. There's always been some sort of relationship between these two companies. So whenever we get news about new stuff involving these two companies, I always like to talk about it because I feel like they both complement each other well. Microsoft has no sort of presence whatsoever in Japan, but Nintendo could help bring that to prominence for Microsoft. And then of course, when you look at stateside, Nintendo is missing a large library of certain select style of Western games that Microsoft could help fill in nicely. Well, we got two stories going on right now with Microsoft and Nintendo that I thought were interesting, kind of updates as to how this relationship is going and what the future of it contains. So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video. Now, the first thing we're going to be talking about is Minecraft Legends. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, RGT, why are we talking about Minecraft Legends? But Minecraft, of course, is a game that is owned by Microsoft now, and that's something that a lot of people are hesitant with when it comes to Microsoft acquiring all these other companies. Will these games still come out on other platforms? Some of them will, some of them won't. It really just boils down to a business decision as far as the install base is concerned and how previous titles have probably sold on the other platforms. Well, like I said, Minecraft Legends came out, a game that I honestly had no sort of interest in. I know there's been spin-off games like this and Minecraft Dungeons, but we finally have some sales statistics coming out of the UK. Granted, it is a small sample size, but I think it speaks volumes for this relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft, because out of 100% of the copies that were sold for Minecraft Legends in the UK, 78% of them were on the Nintendo Switch. Yes, nearly 80% of them were on the Switch, and you got to remember, this came out across all platforms. When you're talking about the PlayStation 5, it accounted for 12% of the sales. The PlayStation 4 accounted for 7% of the sales, and Xbox accounted for 5% of the sales because the game is on Game Pass, and we've learned time and time again that a vast majority of people, if a game is available on Game Pass, that's where they're going to play it. They're not going to play it on they're not going to buy the game because it's already available to them. Like, I don't understand why Microsoft doesn't understand that, but really that's a topic for another day. So with this small sample size of data, I think it's pretty telling as to why it makes sense for this relationship to continue, because obviously in a region like Japan, which we just talked about, this is going to be a very similar case, I feel, and you're going to see a case like this just pretty much across the board, because this seems like a game that was sort of designed with something like a Switch in mind. Like, it's obviously geared toward a younger demographic. Let's be real, a lot of younger players play on Nintendo platforms. It's always just been that way. Yes, there are adults that play on them, but I think this is a smart thing that this game came out on all platforms, and I think it's sort of telling about the future of this. But when we're talking about the future of the relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo, there's obviously a lot more stuff going on with it, and some of that involves, of course, the acquisition of Activision, because that was something that has been talked about in a lot of circles, because of the fact that now all of a sudden there's a 10-year deal for Call of Duty to be on Nintendo platforms, and they're confident that they could get this game up on the Nintendo Switch. And while I believe that it can be done, I mean, obviously it can be done. We had Call of Duties on the freaking Wii while they were coming out on the Xbox 360, so really it was like a 360 and a GameCube version of a game, but they still made it work. The FTC isn't quite as lenient when it comes to this information, and they want some more information. So the FTC is seeking info on Microsoft's 10-year Call of Duty deal with Nintendo. This is coming to us from Tweaktown and good old Derek Strickland, who I used to work with on my first video game website. So we're going to read this and basically just kind of go over it. The FTC has taken an interest in 10-year licensing deals that Microsoft has signed with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to Switch, but Nintendo may not have to provide specific details. Nintendo is fast becoming more involved with the FTC's antitrust lawsuit against the Microsoft Activision merger. Of course, the FTC has a lot of questions about this, cannibalism and monopoly, this, that, the other. a bit ago, we reported that Nintendo has asked an FTC law judge to toss out a subpoena, summoning a very particular Nintendo of America executive to deliver sworn testimony before the FTC's team of lawyers. Now we have a better idea on what the FTC's overall aim is with the subpoena. Closer investigation of the motion to squash the subpoena indicates that the FTC wants more information on the 10-year Call of Duty licensing deal that Nintendo and Microsoft have signed. However, there isn't much detail on the scope of these interests. The FTC has subpoenaed Steve Singer, Nintendo of America's Vice President of Publisher and Developer Relations, to develop up to 7 hours of testimony to the FTC's complaint console. Singer was the Nintendo executive who negotiated with Microsoft to iron out the 10-year licensing deal for Call of Duty, which began all the way back in December 6 of 2022 when they signed a letter of intent. So basically, what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to subpoena Nintendo to talk about this whole thing as far as Nintendo and Microsoft is concerned going forward with Activision. Now, Nintendo Legal Counsel says that the FTC did not order the subpoena until it learned that Singer was the Nintendo of America executive responsible for negotiations with Microsoft. The FTC asked for both the identity of Nintendo's negotiator on March 16th and then searched the subpoena on March 29th to 30th. Both the identity request and the subpoena serving were made after the subpoena deadline of March 3rd. So, basically what's happening here is they have questions about this, like a lot of people have questions about this, because of things like even if you take away just the whole technical side of things, which is what people seem to be questioning with this. They want to know the business side of things, like why was this all of a sudden rushed out to be a deal? And honestly, you know, it's a slippery slope with a situation like this, because so many people are quick to claim monopoly, so many people are quick to claim this, that, or whatever. You know, I look at it as just a business deal. Like in business, there's going to be acquisitions and things that people that are acquired or companies that are acquired in every facet of business that might not seem fair to other people. But I feel like this brings out competition in others. I don't feel like this is a monopolistic situation, especially considering the fact that Microsoft has been willing to work with PlayStation for at least the next 10 years. Like, you have to remember something here, folks. We're under the assumption that consoles and video game distribution is going to be the same as it is now, with a healthy mix of physical and digital media and dedicated devices that are, playing these video games. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case within the next 10 years. I don't know how the video game landscape is going to work within the next 10 years as far as consoles and stuff are concerned. Are companies still going to manufacture consoles? What are consoles going to look like? So I think Nintendo and Microsoft working together kind of on the back end of all of this is a very interesting thing, because obviously, PlayStation is quickly garnishing steam in all regions. They're getting back to a level of prominence and, this, that, and the other, and people are recognizing them as a top brand once again. But I feel like both Nintendo and Microsoft could benefit from a business standpoint by doing things kind of that don't involve PlayStation. Even if it's just from an optics standpoint, Nintendo needs all the optics it can get when it comes to, looking good in front of the public eye, especially with some of their situations and how they handle things. So these are the latest updates with Microsoft and Nintendo. The Xbox and Nintendo connection seems to be very strong, and I feel like one other thing that involves with this 10-year licensing deal is Nintendo doesn't want to go on record and talk about their next system, because it's probably coming out within the next year, and they don't want to talk about it in front of a judge. And they could have things radicated in their speech, but obviously, they're gonna have large chunks radicated, and they might not want to do that. It's a whole situation, folks. It's a whole situation. Let me know what you think of it in the comments section down below, though. How do you feel this whole Microsoft Nintendo thing is going? Would you like to see it sort of sped up a bit? Are you surprised that Minecraft Legends sold best on Nintendo Switch? Because I'm really not. And do you think Nintendo's going to get subpoenaed into this FTC stuff? Do you think the FTC is overstepping their bounds as far as, are they actually protecting the consumer, or are they just trying to do things on their own accord with this? Let me know what you think of it. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers, and I don't know, that's a cool number, but subscribers have kind of quieted down a little bit, but the views have been really good. So I don't know. I guess I make good enough content to watch, but like not good enough content to subscribe to. And that's okay. You know, I'm fully aware of that. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.